Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Locker Room. Tonight, I'm Alan Locher, and I'm so glad you're here as we continue the momentum from the Soap Operas in Popular Culture Conference that I attended in October with a very special conversation born out of our final panel. We will be revisiting the conversations that began at the conference, exploring the personal impact soaps have had on all of us, and celebrating the community that continues to keep this genre alive. Before we dive into our live conversation with Annie Armstrong and Elisa Smith, I wanted to start with Paul Gosselin. Paul's lifelong devotion to guiding light helped shape who he is and ultimately inspired his digital dramedy Misguided, as well as his powerful conference presentation. What you're about to see first is a clip from Paul's mortified performance where he reads from his childhood journals and fan letters written during his deep love for our show, Guiding Light. It beautifully captures the role soaps can play in shaping identity and providing connection. A few days ago, I had the chance to sit down with Paul to talk more about his journey from devoted fan to creator and why being part of the Popular Culture Conference was so meaningful to him. Let's take a look at the mortified clip. Then I'll bring Paul out for our conversation.
I'm Paul, and I grew up a closeted gay kid in Underhill Center, Vermont, with a population of about 3,000. It wasn't exactly the type of place where people talked openly about things like sexuality, and my house wasn't either. Things were very buttoned up. Any music that wasn't country or oldies was considered the devil's music. Creative expression was not encouraged. So, despite having some close friends, I didn't have anyone I could talk to about what was really going on inside of me. And I wanted someone like that, like a best friend. Every day after school, my mom cooked dinner with the TV on, and I'd do my homework nearby at a table. And it was there, in that kitchen, purely by chance, that I discovered a magical place where people always had the ability to express their emotions no matter how extreme. That place was the Guiding Light. And the people of Springfield were there for me 5 days a week, every week, for my entire adolescence. Those characters became the best friends I wish I had in real life, and I was determined to somehow become a part of their world. I often sent letters with my own brilliant ideas on how to improve the show. I wrote the following impassioned plea to save one of my favorite characters from being written off the series. I sent this one to the executive producer of Guiding Light, the head of CBS Daytime, and the programming directors at its parent company, Procter & Gamble. I wasn't messing around. Hello, my name is Paul Gosselin, an avid fan of Guiding Light and a huge fan of Emmy-nominated Ms. Beth Ehlers. As it is stated in several places, negotiations are being held between the powers that be and Ms. Ehlers. Ms. Ehlers cannot, and I repeat, cannot be replaced. Maybe I am naive in thinking contract negotiations are a piece of cake, but what is so difficult in keeping a talented actress? Why would you want to lose a star from the heavens that helps to make Guiding Light shine so bright? I wrote my first ever fan letter to Ms. Ehlers, and I received a very nice, handwritten note back from her within the same month. I will always remember her words, as I have mounted her letter and picture in a special place. Thank you, Paul, for your letter. It made me smile. Take care, and God bless, Beth Ehlers. Nothing fancy and nothing extraordinary. She was real. People who watch daytime TV look for realness, and that is why Harley Cooper Spaulding is such an outstanding character. Thank you for listening, Paul Thomas Gosselin. I really wanted to get my point across. So, inside the letter, I enclosed a wet wipe with a message on it. This fan loves Beth Ehlers. Don't wipe her away. The producers even sent me a letter to let me know that Beth Ehlers wasn't wiped away. Inspired by my apparent win, I kept writing letters.
Incredible, Paul. Thank you so much for being here today and for sharing that with our audience.
Thank you for having me. And I mean, anytime I can share my misguided piece, or my mortified piece, sorry, I love it.
Well, like I said, we just watched the Mortified clip, and it says so much about your connection and love for our guiding light. Take us back. When did that show first enter your life?
So I was doing homework, so it was like grade school. I think I saw bits and pieces of it in like the early 90s, but I definitely was hooked by mid 90s, like with the Lucy and Alan Michael love story and the Brent Lawrence, Miriam Crane serial killer situation.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. That was, that definitely kept all of us hooked. Growing up as a queer teen in small town Vermont, how did Guiding Light help you navigate those years emotionally?
It gave me a place to escape. Vermont was I was isolated in that small town. Our school was about 25, 30 minutes away from where we lived. So it was always like a trek. All of my friends lived, further away than where I grew up. So I didn't really spend time hanging out with friends. The only people that I really spent so much time with were these characters on Guiding Light and the other CBS shows.
Well, those journals and fan letters came from a real place of devotion. When you first decided to share them on a Mortified stage, what was that experience like for you, that very first time stepping on stage? I mean, because you're really sharing something so deeply personal.
Yeah, I have been doing Mortified for over a decade now, and it came into my life at like the perfect time. I had just moved to LA. I was looking for something creative to do, and I met with the producers. They helped piece together a story based on a blog that I had written online, and I kept talking about Guiding Light in this blog, and they were like, "You mentioned Guiding Light so much," and I said, "Yeah, because I love it." I was like, "I have bins of stuff," and they're like, "Bring us everything." And so I sat down and with Neil, who was one of the producers here in LA, and he like helped me piece together this amazing story about friendship. And the cool thing about Mortified is that they use your exact words that you wrote when you were this angsty teenager. So it's not like you're making things up. They literally use what you wrote word for word. So he helped piece together all of these different letters that I had saved. Like I saved copies of the letters that I was sending for like the fan campaign to Beth Ehlers. And then I have letters, had writers and all of the actors that I could, write to. And it meant so much that first time because it gave like a validation to that little kid that loved Guiding Light, that didn't really get it from anyone else. And then to share it on stage, the whole audience was so receptive. The first time I did it was their 10th anniversary show here in LA. And Ryder Strong from Boy Meets World was in the audience. I think he had done like a part of a piece. Someone had written like a play or something. And he came up to me after and was like, "Dude, that was so good. You were so good." And to hear someone that I grew up watching on like Boy Meets World tell me I did amazing in this, I was like, I can't ask for a better situation. This was wonderful.
Well, watching the clip now, what do you recognize about that younger version of yourself, and how much of him is still with you today?
I thought he was gone, to be honest. I didn't realize he was still inside. Like I think with the cancellation of Guiding Light and moving from New York to LA, sort of rebuilding my life, starting over, I didn't really have that connection anymore to soaps the way that I had growing up. And then doing this show brought back everything. Like all of those emotions were still there. I was like, he still wants to be a part of this world, and that even though like the ultimate dream of Guiding Light is not a possibility at the moment, we, he, he just needed a place to find himself, and I think Mortified helped because it gave him that audience that he so longed for.
I love that. It gave you a place to express yourself. At what point did your love for soaps shift from being a fan to feeling that responsibility to create something of your own?
It was shortly after Mortified. But I've always wanted to be an actor. Like that, it was the ultimate dream was to be an actor on Guiding Light. Like there was no plan B. So when it was gone, I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. And it took it literally
that's
took
a hard reality.
Yeah, when you spend your entire life.
Yeah. I mean, so you were determined, right? You were determined to be on. An underestimation. Is it an underestimated?
Yeah, I definitely but you think about it, I just, we'll get to it, I'm sure, at some point, but one of the lines that I have in the upcoming season of Misguided is that, like, yeah, Guiding Light was on for, 72 years. Like, what was the process? Like, how do you end something that long? Like, that's an institution on television. It shouldn't have gone away. Like, it should have been helped and, like, cared for and nurtured.
You're preaching to the choir.
I know. I know. But yeah, so to get back to your question, it was shortly after I did Mortified that someone came up to me who used to work at HarperCollins that was like, you should do something with this. Like you should write more about this. And so I was writing this, that, and the other, and ended up meeting with a literary manager, and he told me, he's like, well, no one's going to buy what you're writing unless they know who you are. So people are creating web shows now, like create something that people can just watch and get to know you. And from there, I just came up with this crazy idea to make a web series about wanting to be a soap star on Guiding Light.
And Misguided isn't a parody. It really is a sincere love letter to daytime and to that show. Why was it important for you to approach it with so much heart rather than irony?
Because I love this genre so much. Like it is not something that I would ever make fun of. I wanted to, if I was going to do this show, I wanted it to be heartfelt. I wanted it to resonate with other fans that sort of had this love for Guiding Light and the soap world in general. Because it meant so much to me, and there was no way that I could look at it and be like, yeah, let's make fun of something that I've loved forever. Like it didn't sit right. And I know that it's been a crazy journey because I started as a comedy and not necessarily as an actual soap, but I also didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know what was going to become of it. And there was no way I could predict whenever I started, like 2015. What it would be 10 years later.
Correct. The pandemic, losing Jackie Zeman, so many things had an impact on what you were creating. You've brought Guiding Light alumni along for the ride, and other daytime actors, of course. What has that meant to you to collaborate with people who once lived in that Springfield world you so idolized?
I feel the emotion coming up already. Like it is, it's magical in such a way that I don't know the exact words yet. But I was living with, I don't know if I was living with Stephanie, or I was with Stephanie at the time, Stephanie Gachet, and was telling her that I had this idea and I wanted to do it. And the moment she said yes, I was like, I think this is a possibility. And having her on board from the beginning helped me get, a couple more stars in season 1, that then led to more in season 2. And then it just kept snowballing. And it's like, oh, I can literally ask anyone and they could say yes, they could say no. It doesn't, I mean, but I don't have to be scared to ask them and have a response, because what if they said yes? And then they get to be in this with me, and I get to have this scene with Cynthia Watros, and it's just like, I wrote fan fiction about being her brother on Guiding Light, and like to just sit in a booth and have a conversation that's being recorded in my show is like,
you know, it's a lesson my mother always taught me, which is amazing, because she didn't have a real education, but like, simply ask. All they can say is no, you know, and you asked, and so many said yes. So, you know, it really is that is a huge lesson. Like, all they can say is no. Well, you have recorded, so as you prepare, you know, and edit the 4th and final season, what can you share about what fans can look for emotionally, thematically?
There's a lot of crying. I wrote, it was like one of the hardest things I've ever written, just emotionally and like just story wise. Like I wanted to honor the story that I had previously built prior to Jackie's passing, and I needed to find a way to bridge that story with a current reality that I was facing. And I didn't know what that story was. And I hope that I have done it justice, because there were probably 4 different versions between the previous season ending and then whatever happens on screen now. And they're sort of all meshed together to sort of hopefully pay, you know, so much respect and reverence to Jackie herself as an actress, and also the character, the relationship that I had with my mother in the show, and just, yeah, there's a lot of crying. That's what I can say.
So early 2026?
I hope so. I have to say, I do all of the editing myself, and I taught myself how to do it from season 1. This is probably, and I'm probably jinxing it, but this is the easiest editing that I've done so far. I don't know if it's just because I've learned a lot, or we've had like a really great crew this time around. I don't know. Not like, there were just always some sort of hiccup that happened right at the beginning of my editing process, and I haven't had that yet. And I keep waiting for it to happen, and I don't want it to. But anyway, to answer your question, I don't want to say early 2026 yet, but it's possible. Okay. And it'll be sometime in 2026.
You'll let us know. Everybody will know. We'll share it.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. What drew you to participate in the Soap Operas and Popular Culture Conference? And did you know you were going to be the final panel beforehand? Like,
so no, I think that worked out better than I think anyone planning had realized. I mean, I love soap operas. Like, there's just no doubt about it. And I saw you post that you were going to be the keynote speaker, and I thought, well, this was a cool opportunity to go. And I thought, what if I submit something? And I was like, this is just an avenue that I could promote Misguided, maybe get some new fans from it, maybe, you know, meet people there that, you know, could help in some sort of capacity. So I submitted multiple abstracts to to the producers there, and they wrote back very kindly and were like, we will only have space for 1. I was like, okay, well, let me just combine everything. And I loved it. I loved going out. I like to travel in different cities and do Mortified there. I just was in Austin, so I was like, this is just an opportunity for me to essentially do Mortified in like a different capacity on my terms, in an Ohio setting. Yeah, and to be the final speaker just like was really cool, but I wasn't anticipating it, because there was supposed to be like a panel but after us that just disappeared.
Oh, is that? I didn't remember that. I should look at the program. I didn't realize that, but yeah, it worked out beautifully. I thought it ended amazing. Sitting alongside Annie and Elisa, what struck you most about how deeply soaps have shaped people's lives beyond entertainment?
Oh, I loved getting to know them. We went out to dinner the first night of the conference, and just like sat at a table in a restaurant and shared how we fell in love with soaps, how we are still involved in like watching soaps, what we think of current storylines, but like in like a non-judgmental way. We were just sort of there, like supporting each other and enjoying each other's company. And we all had this commonality of, yeah, we grew up watching soaps, and we enjoy going to fan events, and we enjoy, learning more about the business itself, and all these other things that just, I don't know. I have those conversations with people outside of, the soap fandom world, but they don't necessarily get it. And these two, they got it. And it was like a really cool trio to share, because we all had different perspectives, but we all came from this place of loving soaps and just, here's what we want to talk about. And I loved it.
Yeah, and that was what was so interesting. You three definitely came from different sides. So I'm excited for everybody to meet Annie and Elisa next.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, if that younger Paul who wrote those journals could see where you are now today, what do you think he'd be most proud of?
Oh gosh, that he didn't stop dreaming, that he kept going. Yeah, that he's doing it his way. He always has.
Absolutely. Well, keep dreaming, Paul. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you could be here today.
Me too. Thank you for allowing me to do this with you.
Absolutely. Well, keep in touch about Misguided. We look forward to it.
Definitely.
Thank you, Paul Gosselin. And I'm so grateful he took the time to share his story and his deep connection to Guiding Light. Now, I'm very excited to bring in Annie Armstrong and Elisa Smith, who were also both part of our final conference panel and whose stories about growing up with soaps resonated with so many of us. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. And before we open this up for a conversation, I want to give each of you a few minutes to share your stories the way you did at the conference. Elisa Smith and Annie Armstrong. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us here. This is great. Such an honor. Such an honor, Alan.
Good. Well, what I loved so much about the final panel was how personal it felt, how soap operas weren't discussed as just television, but as something that shaped each of our identities, offered comfort, and created connection across different moments in each of our lives, everybody who was there. Annie, I'd love to start with you. Your presentation explored how soaps as sanctuary, how fandom, memory, and even writing became a way to process emotion and build meaning. I'll turn it over to you for a few minutes, and then we'll hear from Elisa. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Well, Elisa, Annie, take it away.
Okay, so my presentation at the Soap Opera Conference was called Artifacts of Obsession, Excavating the Psyche of a Soap Opera Superfan. And it gave me an opportunity to reflect on a time in my life when I was deeply enthralled by a show called Santa Barbara, which had a much shorter run than The Guiding Light, but nonetheless, I was obsessed with it. So pictured here is my bedroom door, which was mostly plastered with soap opera pictures clipped from Soap Opera Weekly, Soap Opera Digest. My way of telling my story was to revisit all of the different artifacts that I've held on to throughout the years. So I'm just going to quickly run through those and tell my story. Next slide, please. So next we have pictured just a sampling of my VHS tapes. I still have many more of these, maybe 50, that were lovingly labeled with my own little labels. I'm So Sad refers to Santa Barbara eventually going off the air and the final days. One of them is labeled Crucial because all of this footage was crucial. I didn't just watch these shows, I wanted to archive them, and that's a testament to how much I was, how obsessed I was at the time. So next slide, please.
You bet.
So another thing I did as a super fan, I was not just passively watching these shows, but I was documenting them. And I think part of that was that I dreamt of one day being a soap opera writer. So that didn't happen. I actually ended up becoming a librarian. But this is just one sampling of at least 10 pages of dialogue. So I would watch the shows, I would listen to them carefully, and I would transcribe my favorite witty lines and then revisit them later. So I was, to me, taking this very seriously. This was not a full-time job, but it definitely took longer than actually just watching the shows after school. Next slide. So I also had an expensive soap opera magazine habit. Every time I went to the grocery store with my mom, I would throw in Soap Opera Weekly or Soap Opera Digest. So I was trying to learn as much as possible about the industry and, in my mind, developing my expertise in soap operas with that hope of one day being much more involved with them. But I was like a baseball fan. I had to know everything about every show, not just the ones that I was watching. Next slide, please. Okay, so like Paul, I had letters that I wrote to characters on the show and writers on the show. Unlike Paul, I never sent them, maybe because it was pre-email days and I just didn't really know where to send things. But I think it was also that it was just therapeutic for me to write letters addressed to my favorite characters, recommending storylines. That was all just part of my obsession, I would say. And I didn't send them, maybe just because the act of writing them was enough for me at the time. And I was still sort of maintaining a separation between fantasy and reality. Next slide, please. So in college, I took my first stab at writing about the impact of soaps on my life. So I wrote a novella for my senior project. I was a creative writing major. It was called Getting the Axe, which was a reference to an issue of Soap Opera Weekly that that landed on the shelves in the grocery store at the time, that was referring to Santa Barbara getting canceled, which was like a really devastating blow for me. But in retrospect, it was probably something that allowed me to move on to the next stage in my life and detach a little bit from soaps. In the novella, I go back and forth between my own family story and the imagined lives of some of my beloved characters. And just to go into my family story a little bit more and why soap operas were so resonant with me, I had sort of a soap opera-ish childhood in some ways. So my dad ended up having an affair with and marrying the woman across the street. And then eventually my mom hooked up with and married her ex-husband. So it was all like a classic soap opera plot. And the difference was, like, the TV people had the ability to confront each other and talk endlessly and process these events. Whereas in reality, as like a 9-year-old when this happened, and later on in my adolescence, there was kind of an unspoken code and an expectation not really to talk about what happened, and I wasn't in therapy or anything. So in kind of a direct way, I used soaps to work through and process my family drama. And writing about the soaps later on was also a really important and fruitful creative and therapeutic outlet for me. So the final slide, if you can advance the slide, is just a quote that I presented at the conference that sums up a lot of things to me, in that we don't just watch soaps, but we live with them. So I feel that I sort of watched so many soaps that I fully integrated the characters into my life. They became part of my sort of an enhancement to my lived community, and they were very real to me, and they were there for me when I needed them at a difficult time in my life. And I really wouldn't be who I am without that experience. So my fascination with soaps as a teen was just a very powerful experience in my life that I think is testament to the power of the function of stories in our lives, and also sort of how fantastic these shows and this genre is. So that's the end of my presentation recap.
Really incredible. I mean, I'm just as moved, as I was hearing it the first time. And we'll talk more in just a second. Elisa, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit. At the conference, I talked about soap opera weddings. And so I'm going to share some of that and the impact that soaps have had on me. So some of my earliest memories are of watching General Hospital with my mom and Days of Our Lives with my grandparents. From the very beginning, soaps were something we shared as a family, a daily ritual that brought us together. Weddings quickly became my favorite part of daytime television. They had everything. They had family drama, romance, fashion, and of course, the unexpected twists. But more than that, they represented hope, the idea that love could survive chaos. One wedding that stands out above all others is Luke and Laura's on General Hospital. It wasn't just a TV moment, it was a cultural event. People skipped school, offices played it on break room TVs, and for so many of us watching, it felt like something we were experiencing together. I remember watching it surrounded by other college students, feeling a quiet joy that stayed with me long after the episode ended. But soaps weren't just entertainment for me, they were emotional companions. When I was bullied in junior high and felt isolated, the characters on screen became my friends when I felt I had none. I connected deeply to Laura Weber, who was close to my age and also bullied. Watching her survive, grow, and find love gave me comfort and strength during a difficult time. Then, during my senior year of high school, my father passed away suddenly from a heart attack. Once again, soaps became a lifeline. In a world that suddenly felt overwhelming and uncertain, they offered stability and comfort. I felt a deep connection to Hope Williams on Days of Our Lives, who had also lost a parent. Her story helped me process my own grief in ways I didn't even realize at the time. As I moved through adulthood, college, career, becoming a single mom, soaps continued to be there. I watched stories about blended families and second chances while juggling homework, dinner, and everyday life. Those stories reminded me that families come in many forms and that love doesn't always follow a straight path. Now, at 63, I'm still watching soaps. This time with my 91-year-old mom. Recently, we watched the reunion and wedding of Danny and Christine on The Young and the Restless. And it felt like a reminder that life has a way of coming full circle. Sometimes, after long and winding journeys, people find their way back to what matters most. For me, soaps have always felt like family, familiar, comforting, and always there when I needed them most. They have reflected the deepest human desires: love, connection, redemption, and hope. So, here's to every bride who's ever walked down the soap aisle. May they live happily ever after, at least until the next twist.
So good, so good. I know that you told me, Elisa. First of all, thank you both. I mean, both of your stories are incredible, and there is so much overlap and so much individuality in what you both experienced. But Elisa, you said you didn't watch the interview with Hank Northrup. Really interesting about your dad's passing. Hank, losing his dad.
Yes. Yeah.
He, I think, learned he got Days of Our Lives about a month after his dad's passing, and getting that job helped him in his grief.
Yes.
So it
Talk about coming full circle.
I mean, seriously. But the impact where it not only is helping those of us who are watching, but those who are creating it for us to watch.
Yes.
Hank,
Yes.
really, really something. Annie, you describe soaps as this daily sanctuary, something you can come back to again and again. When did it hit you that, they were filling an emotional space for you? How did you put that together?
I mean, I think probably while I was watching them, I was somewhat aware of that, like in middle. I think I started like late middle school. It was a really hard and lonely time for me, and I don't think this came through before, but they were just really fun. I think they really uplifted my mood too. Being able to consume these stories and every day. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just that they were connected to my own situation that I mentioned, but it was just like, I think I felt like they really enhanced my life. The funny thing was, like, I also quickly realized that people in my family didn't want to hear about it at the dinner table. So it was definitely a solitary hobby for me that I didn't really share with many people.
Yep. Vicky just said, I love how we all share. Can you repeat the last part?
Sorry, go on.
No, the last part. I
just was saying, as long as I did my homework and got good grades, I was allowed to indulge, and I did. So yeah, it was.
That's terrific. Vicky, one of our viewers just said, I love how we all share this love for soaps, a great community. Elisa, listening to Annie, how does that resonate with your own experience? When did soap start feeling like family to you? Was it around the same time?
Around the same time. Yeah, I probably started watching like in grade school because my mom had General Hospital on, my grandparents would have Days of Our Lives on, and back then you had one TV and 3 channels. So I just watched what was on, and then I just started I started connecting with the characters and the storylines and wanting to see what was going to happen next. And then as I grew up and was in junior high, then and Luke and Laura came along, that just felt different to me. I could connect deeper because, same age as Laura, she was bullied like I was being bullied. And so it just resonated that way for me.
Well, you certainly shared how soaps helped you through bullying, grief, and major life changes. What do you think it is about daytime storytelling that creates and pulls us in with that emotional safety?
I think it makes us feel that we're not alone. When we're going through these difficulties in our life and maybe we just can't really talk about it or the people around us don't really understand. But we feel so alone. I think that when we're watching our soaps and we're connecting with those characters, we don't feel so alone.
Would you agree, Annie?
Yeah, and I think another key feature is that they are on every day, every weekday.
Correct. Yeah. 5 days a
so
week. Yeah.
It's, for me, like that's more time than I was spending with certain family members. It's so, like, in my original conference proposal for this conference, I talked about how I would actually even dream about the characters because they were so like integrated into my life. So there's like an intimacy that you build, and I think that's because of the constancy and the amount of time you spend with these people.
It's interesting, Annie, because you spoke of, the loss of Santa Barbara that was on in relative terms to Days of Our Lives and As the World Turns and Guiding Light, a very short period of time, and the impact that loss had on you. So, I'm sure you can relate to people watching Guiding Light and As the World Turns and losing a show that they spent 40 or 50 or 60 years with. It was a major blow to so many of us. You talked about connecting with characters. Do you each remember who that character that you first truly connected with? Annie, you want to go first?
Yeah, it was sure. I didn't go into it this time, but there was a character named Augusta Lockridge, and she was just kind of an outsider on the show, a little bit
Louise
obnoxious.
Sorel, correct?
Somewhat. Yeah, Louise Sorel, and there was just something about her that was who I wrote my fan letters to, and yeah, I think at the time I had lost my grandmother, and I think she actually kind of filled that void a little bit. She was kind of a replacement, as odd as that might sound, but I just loved her.
I don't think any of us, Annie, watching.
Sorry?
I don't think any of us watching find, that weird in any way. In any way.
Okay.
Not in the least. Elisa, how about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
That first character that you truly connected with?
Wow. I like I say, I was really young when I started watching. So I'd be at my grandparents, and I remember watching Days of Our Lives, and it was Maggie and Mickey and Julie and Doug. And I was very young, but still, then they were older, but I still connected in some way. I think I connected with the family. It was all about family, the Horton family. And that was the real connection. And then at Christmas time, watching them hang the Horton family ornaments on the Christmas tree, or Dr. Tom Horton would read the Christmas story at the hospital to all the children there, and my grandparents would call me into the room. Hey, he's going to read the Christmas story. You need to sit here and listen to this. So it was those kind of things that helped me connect with those characters.
It's so true, and it's so interesting.
And the Horton family was Catholic, and my grandparents were big Catholic.
But it's interesting how you say, like, you were so young liking the older family members. Like for me on As the World Turns, Bob and Kim Hughes, you know, felt like another set of parents to me. But I would have watched them every day. You know, I didn't need the teenagers necessarily. It's such an interesting thing because, you know, the powers that be were trying to push the teenagers for the younger audience. But I think a lot of the younger audience wanted the older audience, wanted the older characters, not the, audience. Right. It's so true.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is.
Yes.
Annie, now as, both a fan and librarian and scholar, studying it, why do you think soaps invite that depth of emotional investment?
I think it's like expository, like I mentioned it before, like in reality we're not that open with our emotions, whereas like soap operas really like turn it inside out, so it's not
they turn
realistic,
the tables,
really.
Yeah
but you see people just like spending all their time like going from one place to another, having these ridiculously emotional and in-depth conversations, revisiting and rehashing things, and I think that's part of the comfort of it, is that that's not how people truly interact. At least that hasn't been my experience.
It's true.
So, and as also more of an introverted person, so.
Yeah, Elisa, Patty Sheridan says you look fantastic. Do you know Patty Sheridan?
She's one of my friends in New York. Hi, Patty.
I mentioned this in my keynote about, the power of these shows in the sense that, I made lifelong friends through them. Talk about, Elisa, I know for you, you've gone to a lot of fan events. What has it been like connecting with other fans at these events?
Oh, I love going to the fan events and connecting with the fans and talking soaps, and because especially in our world today, when it's difficult to have conversations with people on there's politics and religion and all these things, and soap operas are safe and they're fun and it's joyful, because you have something in common, and you feel safe to talk about it.
I think that's
and I've made many connections and many friends at the fan events, and they're great.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. Annie, you don't watch anymore, correct?
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do?
I just haven't ever like fully fallen in love with a show like I did with, I would say, Santa Barbara, and I was also really into Another World back in the day. But now I'll like watch while I'm eating lunch. I'll watch Young and the Restless, or I mean, I know those characters going all way back, and sometimes Guiding Light, not Guiding Light. I'm sorry, General Hospital. Yeah, I still like keep in touch, but it's not like I need to record anything or run home and check in on the storyline, but it's still comforting to me.
Yeah, it's so true. Candace
Mhm.
Mack, who's watching, just said that's one of the many blessings about the soap operas is meeting new friends who now are like my second family, and how it also shaped my life in a way. Crazy. Yeah, it really is a unique community, of people who, just fell in love with a group of characters in whatever fictional town we were watching, from Port Charles to Bay City to Springfield to Oakdale, to Los Angeles, all around the globe. It really is that connection. What drew you both to want to participate in the Soap Operas and Popular Culture Conference? And what was the experience like for you? Annie, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I talked about having this dream of being a soap opera writer, and I think when that didn't happen, my fallback dream that's always been in the back of my head was I'm going to do research about soap operas and write about them. And this to me was just fell in my lap. I found it on Facebook, the call for proposals, and I was just like, I have to do this because I've neglected that interest for so long. And it's just something that I've continued to think about. Why did I have this strong response to soap operas? So this was a really great opportunity to just to get my thoughts together and go into my personal archives and revisit them and just kind of see what kind of where that might lead. So I don't know, I might continue to do some new projects after this.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
But this was this was a good springboard.
What was it like sort of diving back into that, pile of stuff you hadn't looked at in a while?
It was kind of sad at first. I was kind of mortified. I mean, just because it's hard to, I think it was so emotional. Like I had to revisit who I was, and that wasn't all happy. But yeah, like, yeah, I think I was, before I actually spoke at the conference, I was a little embarrassed at how far I had gone in writing my letters and fan mail. But then when I met Paul and Elisa and other people at the conference, it kind of normalized it, and I felt like this really warm sense of community. So that was just a great experience, and I'm really grateful that I had that.
I'm so happy you're going to continue. Elisa, how about yourself? Elisa? Can you hear me, Elisa?
Yes. So I saw this on, yes, I can.
Sorry, I think we're having a little delay. I apologize.
Yes, online. I saw the conference online, asking for proposals. So I thought, oh my gosh, this would be so much fun to talk about soap operas instead of, I'm a CPA. So I've done public speaking on taxes and estate planning. I thought this would be something fun. So I thought I'll give it a try. And I thought of the topic of, I set it out there and got accepted and was so excited. So it was just so much fun then, researching the super couples and the different weddings, and and then when I came to the conference, the people were just so warm, and like you, Alan, you, Annie, Paul, and we just had so much in common, and we had so much.
Very true. So true. I'm so sorry for the delay. I feel like there's a delay, and I apologize, everybody. I don't know. The lovely internet. I know, I'd mentioned this yesterday in the show with Hank Northrup, what a loss to the daytime world, Anthony Geary. It's the end of an era. If there was an actor or actress from your beloved shows that, we could twitch our nose or blink, and you could sit down opposite and have a conversation with, who would you first choose to sit with? Whoever wants to go first.
No matter
Alive
living
or yeah,
deceased.
Yeah. Either or, alive or
Because
deceased.
Yeah, I would say Drake Hogestyn. I would
Annie,
love
for
to
you?
have had a conversation. I'd love to have had a conversation with him.
That's great.
I hope this counts, but
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say Erna Phillips, who is, the creator of the soap operas. I would love to be able to interview her and write a book about her life. I mean, she's to me, that's so fascinating that this woman, who is actually from Chicago, I think she was born in like 1910. I live in Chicago. So yeah, I would love to I feel like there would be so many things to learn about how she just basically created this genre.
She created this genre. She taught William J. Bell and Agnes Nixon to follow in her ginormous footsteps. Absolutely correct. I think you heard Alina Adams speak at the conference. You should look for her historical fiction novel called Go On Pretending. She incorporates Ernest in there. Oh, you did. Let me know what you think. I haven't finished it. With everything I have going on, I'm very slow, but I really was enjoying where it was going, but it is fascinating. I do think I wish there was a true documentary on Erna Phillips. It would be fantastic. I also think, Annie, in doing that research, there is a larger story about, this, us here tonight, the fans watching tonight, the connection that this genre has, sort of been intravenously put into our blood, and how it has provided so much joy and happiness to all of us. Elisa, when you mentioned Drake, I remember after his passing, I had never met him. I was just so impressed at the love and the beautiful messages from people, and the beautiful memories people shared, as I am today with all of the messages about Anthony Geary, from John Stamos and Rick Springfield to Jonathan Jackson and the entire General Hospital cast. The impact that those men left on the people, that they worked with, and Wayne Northrup as well, hearing just, wonderful, wonderful things about these actors who have devoted so much of their careers to entertaining us, right? Us.
Yeah.
It really is. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope the fans enjoyed this. I mean, soaps exist because we've all been tuning in for decades.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. This has been wonderful.
For this opportunity.
You are so welcome. I hope you stay in touch. And, if you both do more, I hope you'll share it with all of us. I would love to share it with everybody. So please, thank you so much for being here. Happy holidays.
Nice to see you both.
You
Happy
too.
holidays.
Thanks, everybody. My thanks again to Annie Armstrong, Elisa Smith, and Paul Gosselin for spending this time with us and for sharing such open, thoughtful, and meaningful stories. This was a conversation that really captured the heart of soap opera fandom and why these shows continue to matter to so many of all of us. I also want to let you know about a special holiday episode coming up on Wednesday, December 25th, when I'll be sharing a panel conversation featuring General Hospital legend Kin Shriner that we recorded at the Soap Operas and Popular Culture Conference. It's a fun, candid, and nostalgic conversation you won't want to miss. Perfect viewing for Christmas Day. You can also support the Locker Room by becoming a YouTube member. Just click the join button for access to exclusive question and answers, our monthly Rewind community chat, special badges, emojis, and more, while helping support the work that goes into bringing these conversations to life. And of course, everything you already enjoy remains free. Don't forget, audio versions of The Locker Room are also available on your favorite podcast platforms. Just search The Locker Room to listen anytime. As we head into the holidays, I want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, a happy and healthy New Year. Thank you again for spending this time with me. As always, stay safe, and I'll see you in 2026. I have two great shows to kick off. One, Conversations with Alan, and The Locker Room, January 6th and January 8th. I'll see you in 2026, everybody. Thanks.